Some places seem to hold on to something, even as everything around them changes. A bridge replaced, a road updated, time moving on as it always does. But the stories remain, of figures seen at the roadside, cars that vanish, and the quiet feeling that you're not alone there, even though you should be.
ID Tech is more than just the original and most trusted tech camp for kids ages 7 to 17. ID Tech is where kids find their people, the engineering and creating people, the fire-breathing, shell-spinning BattleBots people, the just as happy building games as they are playing them people. ID Tech offers over 50 epic courses, like Camp Crunch Labs IRL, BattleBots with Take-Home Bots, and more at 75 college campuses across the country. Visit idtech.com and use code IDTech to save $150 on a week that's guaranteed to be the highlight of your kid's summer.
Youth mental health is a complex challenge that requires comprehensive solutions. We must strengthen after-school programs. We must make digital literacy tools available in our schools. We must work with mental health professionals to support children. And we must empower mentors, educators, and parents to keep kids happy. Learn more about our commitment to finding lasting solutions at empowerourfuturecoalition.com/solutions. Paid for by the Coalition to Empower Our Future.
Spring weekends are my favorite. The yard is full of blooms, the grill is fired up, and family gathers around the patio table. Before everyone arrives, I stop by my local Total Wine & More to pick up a few bottles of wine, usually a Cabernet I already love, and sometimes a new find to share. With such a wide selection, it's easy to find something amazing, and the great prices make it easy to grab an extra bottle for everyone to enjoy. If you're not sure what to pick, their team can help point you in the right direction. Find what you love and love what you find, only at Total Wine & More. Curbside pickup and delivery available in most areas. Visit TotalWine.com to learn more. Spirits not sold in Virginia and North Carolina. Drink responsibly. B21.
ID Tech is more than just the original and most trusted tech camp for kids ages 7 to 17. ID Tech is where kids find their people, the engineering and creating people, the fire-breathing, shell-spinning BattleBots people, the just as happy building games as they are playing them people. ID Tech offers over 50 epic courses, like Camp Crunch Labs IRL, BattleBots with Take-Home Bots, and more at 75 college campuses across the country. Visit idtech.com and use code IDTech to save $150 on a week that's guaranteed to be the highlight of your kid's summer.
Youth mental health is a complex challenge that requires comprehensive solutions. We must strengthen after-school programs. We must make digital literacy tools available in our schools. We must work with mental health professionals to support children. And we must empower mentors, educators, and parents to keep kids happy. Learn more about our commitment to finding lasting solutions at empowerourfuturecoalition.com/solutions. Paid for by the Coalition to Empower Our Future.
Hello, I'm Sarah.
And I'm Toby.
And welcome to the Whispering Woods Haunted. In today's episode, we are going to
Arkansas.
Yeah, Arkansas for Tilly Willy Bridge. I'd never come across this before, and I found it quite interesting. I'll get straight into it. Are you ready for the story?
Yes, I am.
There is a particular kind of road that exists on the edges of towns, like Fayetteville. The kind that does not announce itself in any meaningful way, but simply continues past the last stretch of streetlights and carries on into something quieter, narrower, and increasingly detached from anything that feels familiar, until the sense of direction begins to soften and the surroundings take on a different weight. Not because anything has visibly changed, but because the environment begins to feel less like somewhere you're passing through and more like somewhere you're entering. Just outside Fayetteville, Arkansas, one of those roads leads toward a small rural crossing known locally as Willy Bridge. It's not signposted in any way that suggests significance, and it doesn't need to be, because the people who travel there are rarely doing so by accident, but arrive having already heard about it, drawn not by necessity, but by repetition, by the way certain places become fixed in local awareness through retelling alone. The bridge has a straightforward, documented history. The original structure was built around 1928. A simple rural bridge constructed to carry a narrow road over a small stream, surrounded by dense woodland, and even then would have made the area feel more remote than its actual distance from town might suggest. And for decades it remained in place, unchanged in purpose and largely unchanged in form, serving as a functional crossing rather than anything of note. In 2010, that original bridge was demolished as part of a routine infrastructure replacement. 2 years later, in 2012, a new bridge was constructed directly over the same location, built to modern standards, wider and more stable, intended to continue serving the same route without the structural limitations of the original. In practical terms, the original bridge no longer exists, but the location remains exactly the same. The road still leads to the same point. The surrounding woodland remains largely unchanged, and whatever reputation became attached to that place did not disappear with the structure that first carried it, but remained fixed to the location. During the day, there is nothing about the bridge that suggests anything unusual. It is small, rural, and largely unremarkable, set low against the land rather than elevated above it, carrying the road across without drawing attention. And if there is anything distinctive about it, it's only in the sense that it exists slightly removed from far more travelled routes, requiring intention rather than coincidence to reach. Cars pass over it without stopping. People cross it without noticing anything beyond its function. And in daylight, the surrounding woodland appears exactly as it should. Quiet, dense, and entirely ordinary. It's only after dark that the accounts begin to change. Descriptions of the approach to the bridge at night tend to focus not on anything that can be clearly identified, but on a shift in atmosphere that becomes noticeable as the last signs of the town fall away. The gradual transition where the road narrows, the tree line closes in, and the surrounding space begins to feel more enclosed, more present, and less easily dismissed. People describe a growing awareness that they are no longer simply moving through landscape, entering it. Some report that this shift begins before the bridge itself comes into view, building gradually as the road continues, while others say it becomes apparent only when they slow down or stop, when movement drops away and the environment is no longer held at a distance. What remains consistent across these accounts is not a single description, a shared difficulty in defining it, a reliance on terms like pressure, awareness, or the sense of being watched, not by any identifiable person, but from the surrounding space itself. And it's usually after this point that the sightings are described. What gives Willy Bridge its reputation is not a single event that can be traced to a specific date, report, or confirmed incident, but the way similar descriptions continue to surface over time, shared by different people, often without connection to one another, and yet aligning closely enough in structure and detail that they begin to form a recognizable pattern. Most of these accounts begin in the same way, with the drive. People describe leaving the outskirts of Fayetteville and heading toward the more rural roads that lead into the surrounding woodland, usually at night and often with a clear intention. Because the bridge is not somewhere encountered by chance, but somewhere people go having already heard enough about it to feel that pull between curiosity and doubt. The road narrows, the lighting drops away. The distance between one point and the next begins to feel longer than it should. And although nothing marks the exact point at which the environment changes, many accounts describe a moment or a stretch of road where the atmosphere begins to feel different, not in a way that can be measured, but in a way that is consistently described. Quieter, heavier, more enclosed. By the time people reach the bridge, the descriptions begin to narrow into more specific details. The most commonly reported of these is the presence of a figure. This figure is typically described as a woman, sometimes referred to in local retellings as a woman in white, seen standing either on the bridge itself or somewhere near it, positioned at a distance that allows her to be recognised in outline but not in detail, appearing still rather than moving, as though she is already there rather than arriving. Drivers approaching the bridge often interpret this initially in ordinary terms, assuming they are looking at a person who has somehow ended up there alone, someone who may need help, or who should not be standing in a place like that at that time of night. And it's that assumption that leads them to slow down, to look more closely, or to call out. In many of these accounts, that moment of attention is where the experience shifts. The figure is no longer present, not walking away, not stepping back into the trees, but simply no longer occupying the space. Other accounts describe something slightly different, where the figure appears to have changed position without any visible movement, as though the distance between observer and subject has altered without the physical transition that would normally account for it. Alongside these reports, there are also accounts that do not centre on a person, on the road itself. In these versions, drivers describe seeing another vehicle, sometimes approaching from the opposite direction, sometimes already positioned ahead, but behaving in a way that does not follow normal movement, either disappearing before it reaches them or failing to appear where it should. These reports are less consistent than those describing the figure, and do not appear in every account, but they are repeated often enough to form part of the wider pattern. There are also descriptions that focus on the surrounding woodland rather than the bridge itself. People report the impression of movement, or the sense that something is present without being clearly visible, a suggestion of shape or observation that does not resolve when looked at directly. And while these descriptions are often more difficult to articulate, they appear frequently enough in retellings to be considered part of the broader experience. Mechanical disturbances are also mentioned. Some people describe engines cutting out briefly as they approach or stop on the bridge, while others mention lights behaving irregularly or brief interference with radios or mobile signals. Taken together, they form a framework that has become attached to the location. A road that leads away from the familiar, a bridge that appears ordinary in daylight, a figure often described as a woman in white, seen and then not seen, occasional reports of a second presence associated with a vehicle that does not behave as expected, and a recurring sense, difficult to define, but consistently described, that the environment itself is not entirely neutral. Alongside the accounts of figures on the bridge and the reports of movement within the surrounding woodland, there is another version of the story that continues to circulate in local telling. One that is mentioned less frequently, but carries a noticeably different tone when it is, as though it's not simply part of the atmosphere surrounding the bridge, and something that attempts to explain it. In this version, the bridge is not only a place where something is seen, but a place where something is believed to have happened. The story most often repeated places that event sometime in the 1970s, describing a car accident near the bridge involving a woman and her children. Although the exact details vary depending on who is telling it, and no single version exists that can be tied to a clearly documented record. A woman, her children, a vehicle, and the crossing itself. From that point, the story begins to diverge. Some versions describe the car leaving the road and entering the water below, while others describe the children falling from the bridge. And there are also tellings that suggest the incident may not have been accidental at all. Despite those differences, the outcome is described broadly the same way. The children did not survive. In some versions, the mother did not survive either, while in others she's said to have lived, only to return later to the same place, unable to separate herself from what happened there. For those who are familiar with this version of the story, the bridge is no longer just a location associated with sightings, but a place where a specific kind of loss is believed to have occurred, and that belief begins to influence how the experiences reported there are interpreted. There are also occasional mentions of sound, not distinct or clearly identifiable, out of place within the environment, such as a disturbance in the water, or something that resembles a voice but cannot be understood, and which seems to come from below the bridge rather than from the road above it. Alongside the accounts of figures on the bridge and the story connected to the reported accident, there is another version of this legend. In this version, the focus shifts away from a single event and toward the location itself. The figure seen on or near the bridge is not always described as someone who died there, and in some accounts, she is not described as a ghost at all, but as something that does not belong to a specific moment in time and cannot be traced back to a single incident. Instead, she is referred to simply and without elaboration as a witch. In these tellings, the descriptions become less defined and the figure itself becomes less central, sometimes appearing as before, standing on the bridge, still and distant, but other times not appearing at all, replaced instead by the same sense of observation. where the feeling of being watched does not come from any direction, but from the surrounding space as a whole. There are also suggestions that the bridge itself marks a kind of boundary, not in any physical or measurable way, but in the sense that certain places are understood within folklore to sit between one thing and another, where the landscape feels less stable, less predictable, and less easily defined. The original bridge, built around 1928, remained in place for decades before being demolished in 2010, and the replacement that opened in 2012 now occupies the same position, carrying the same road across the same stretch of land, serving the same purpose in every practical sense. But the location has not changed. The road still leads to it in the same way, narrowing as it leaves the town behind, drawing the surrounding woodland closer. The trees remain, the crossing remains, and whatever has been said about that place does not appear to have been tied to the structure, but to the point where the road meets the land beneath it. During the day, there is nothing about it that suggests anything beyond its function. It is crossed without hesitation, passed without notice, and left behind without any reason to remember it. But the accounts are not tied to the daylight. They return to the same conditions: night, stillness, and the moment where movement stops. Because it's not the act of passing through that defines the experiences people describe, but the decision to slow down, to remain there, or to stop entirely, and to sit in that space long enough for the surroundings to settle into something more noticeable. People describe turning off the engine and becoming aware gradually of everything beyond the car. The road behind them, the bridge ahead, the trees on either side. And in that stillness, the details that have been repeated so many times begin to take shape. A figure, sometimes present, sometimes not, sometimes described as a woman standing at a distance, and sometimes only as something that was there and then was not. The sense of movement where there should be none, or the impression of something within the trees that does not resolve when looked at directly, and the occasional reports of something else connected to the road itself, appearing briefly and then disappearing. Place itself is the origin, not something tied to a single moment, but something that remains. There is only the bridge, the road that leads to it, and the accounts that continue to return to the same details, told in similar ways, by people who often arrive expecting nothing more than to see it for themselves.
Ready for the best summer ever? ID Tech is the original and most trusted tech camp for kids, ages 7 to 17, offering over 50 epic courses like Camp Crunch Labs IRL, BattleBots with take-home bots, AI and machine learning, and more. Camps are all about high-energy fun, new friends, trusted instructors, and exclusive tech partnerships. Experience ID Tech at 75 college campuses nationwide. Visit idtech.com and use code IDTech to save $150 on a week that's guaranteed to be the highlight of your kid's summer.
Youth mental health is a complex challenge that requires comprehensive solutions. We must strengthen after-school programs. We must make digital literacy tools available in our schools. We must work with mental health professionals to support children. And we must empower mentors, educators, and parents to keep kids happy. Learn more about our commitment to finding lasting solutions at empowerourfuturecoalition.com/solutions. Paid for by the Coalition to Empower Our Future.
Now, my thoughts on this. The phantom car could obviously be the mother with her children, or it could be what caused the crash. An intentional crash, perhaps, so that the mother and her children died. Do you see what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
It could be one of those demon cars. I'm sure there are such a thing. That show up and cause accidents. But there's so many possibilities, and why does it feel like something's watching? It does sound like one of those places where it's a bit thin.
I almost feel like
Yeah.
somebody's
Yeah.
watching me.
Yeah, because they are, mate.
Them ones, innit?
They are, mate. Do you know in the UK, we've got the most CCTV cameras than anywhere in the world? It's something like that, anyway.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
So someone is always watching. Just you remember that.
Yep.
Yeah, but lots going on. And the mention of perhaps a witch down there as well that's older than old. And I love the idea of a bridge. Just a bridge. It's so spooky. I love it. And it's especially good for summer spookings. So you could go and visit some spooky bridges and the spooky places.
Yep, and then get haunted.
And then get spooked. What, like you did with the asylum?
Yeah.
It still makes me laugh the way you lot freaked out about that.
Yeah.
Getting all the mothers to sage you. You nutters.
Well, that's the end of this episode. I hope you enjoyed, and we'll catch up with you again soon.
We will indeed. We'll catch you for the main episode tomorrow. Take care, everyone.
Goodbye.
Youth mental health is a complex challenge that requires comprehensive solutions. We must strengthen after-school programs. We must make digital literacy tools available in our schools. We must work with mental health professionals to support children. And we must empower mentors, educators, and parents to keep kids happy. Learn more about our commitment to finding lasting solutions at empowerourfuturecoalition.com/solutions. Paid for by the Coalition to Empower Our Future.
The stories told on the Whispering Woods are inspired by historical records, witness reports, and local folklore. While every effort is made to research and represent events accurately, some details, names, and locations may differ from official accounts or have been changed out of respect for those involved. These episodes are created for storytelling and entertainment purposes and should not be considered definitive fact or investigative journalism.